Delta Company was based at Indungu at that stage, at the parachute base at Indungu in 1986. And Commandant Gary Leipold, who was then the OC of the operational unit of Parachute Battalion, came and saw us and said they're looking for 2 Falco or 2 platoons of Delta Company to be allocated to 5 Recce and to take part in the operation in Angola.
Ops Pineapple was the first one we did when we got to Indungu. We were there for few months. That was a bit of a rough one. We had contact one morning, early. We just got up. Where we slept, we maybe walked not even half a kilometer, and all of a sudden the mortar axe just went crazy, just dropping bombs like hell. And then we also, all of a sudden we were in formation moving forward. It was actually like a voorpost from the bigger base that was there. We hit it, all of a sudden Major Groewe just said pull back, and we pulled back because we realized that this is just a voorpost. We don't know what size is the base.
We had very good troops trained, and Reconnaissance Command used my troops as a shock troops in their environment. I don't know for what precisely, and they were involved in Ops Firewood.
The idea was to do retraining at Oshivelo and also marrying up with 5 Recce and the guys from 2 Recce that were going to be involved in the operation. We were all relatively young. I was 23 years old. Most of the troops were 19, 20 years old. And with big eyes, we looked at these 5 Recce guys. And you know, we were quite excited to be involved in the operation with them, not realizing how big this operation was and what the effect was going to be eventually.
Van Rooyen is one of the soldiers that died that day, and he wrote in a diary, and I asked him what he's writing, and he actually wrote a prayer. But you can see on his face that he knew he's not going to make it the next day. I could see it.
There were hopes that we would get Caspers to work with, because at that stage the 5 Recce guys had Caspers, and unfortunately, due to the operations taking place at that time in different parts of Angola, there were not vehicles available for us, and so we had to travel with these little buffels of us in a big convoy with 5 Recce and 101. With the preparation at Oshivelo and the planning and the orders that we were given, we didn't realize how big the trees and how thick the bush would be where we would be doing the attack. And the buffel just couldn't drive through a tree. You had to go drive around these trees.
My LMG was mounted on the vehicle on the right-hand side. Our driver couldn't make the turn sharp enough, and my barrel got hooked between the buffel and the tree, and it bent my barrel off.
That also caused a problem once we debussed and started our physical attack, because then not all the soldiers had the weapons they were supposed to have. So it eventually led to some oaks actually picking up AK-47s to start fighting with those.
Which was a gruesome one. There was a lot of fighting. They were well dug in. It was a well-prepared base. And I think we were lucky that all the troops weren't there at that stage. But there was a lot. If you can see on what they left there was a lot of SWAPO troops in that base at that stage.
Due to a navigational error somewhere along the line, the whole echelon got delayed slightly. So Colonel Hills, who was in charge of the whole operation, he postponed the air attack, and the air attack took place around about 11 o'clock in the morning. As we were turning in towards the base off the main road, we could see the aircraft, the Mirages, attacking the base.
The trenches were well dug in, very deep. The bunkers were also sunken, so you couldn't see much from air. I think it was for the airstrike axe. If they don't get that strip correctly, you won't see from the air.
Obviously, there was no way to know how effective the airstrikes were. You could see the black smoke rising and the Mirages diving all over the place. And shortly after that, we were supposed to set up and start attacking the base.
There was a bit of misunderstanding the way we attacked the base. So we landed up in the hot spot in the middle of the setup.
Then there was sort of an open area in front of us, We used to call it the parade ground, and we started attacking across as a full frontal attack on the trenches. And that is where we took most of the casualties from Parachute Battalion on that day. The platoon sergeant, Corporal Nico Olivier, basically got off the vehicle, and a few yards later he was killed instantly.
And off Firewood, I lost 6 members of my company. I was not involved in the fight myself. I was on the base, and we lost 2 corporals and 4 troops.
5 died on that parade ground area, and 1 guy died on his way back to one military hospital on the C-130. There were also a lot of guys injured with wounds and things on that parade ground, and a few of our drivers broke arms and fingers while driving into these bushes. So then we eventually broke into the trenches, and as we broke into the trenches, the Impalas that were there for close air support came in, and the first Impala started shooting into the trenches. Luckily, we were wearing our Parachute Battalion helmets with day-glow patches on the back, and the second Impala in the attack saw these things and actually called a stop firing. Luckily, nobody was injured in that air attack.
Every time somebody got hit, they threw red smoke to show the medics they pulled a lot of fire, and all of a sudden on the radio they just said no smoke.
And we carried on clearing some trenches, and then from the left-hand side, the 5 recce guys joined us, and we turned the attack slightly towards the west again, and started clearing up the rest of the base. In the meantime, 101, 3 companies of 101 was surrounding the base area in big shaunas, and they were coming under increased attack from these people, either escaping from the base or people coming from other directions. So I know that the 101 guys had some serious fighting that they did on the outside as well.
We had to evacuate.
The idea with the operation was that we would, once that base was cleared up, that we would possibly attack another position. But there were rumors or radio reports that there were extra SWAPO or FOPLA forces approaching us, and we actually drove, I think, for about the rest of that whole night. We had to take cover during the day due to the fact that we were concerned about air attacks from MiGs and things. And there was a lot of confusion in the process of driving out from this base. We had to do that without lights. And, you know, you were driving, one buffle was driving like 2 meters from the buffle in front of it. And I remember the buffle in front of me suddenly disappeared, and I told my driver to stop. And it turned out that buffle had fallen into a thing called a tank trap.
And I can still remember, we just pulled out the oaks on top of our buffle. We split some of the oaks between I think we were 3 buffles at that stage that was together.
We got told to leave the buffle there, the sappers would blow it. It turns out the sappers never blew it. So I think this is the buffle that FOPLA proudly displays as one captured at Firewood.
I brought back the bodies to the RSA, and yeah, it was a big loss for me, and it was a very horrible time for me in my company.
If I specifically think about this operation and the way that these young guys, and I was young myself, I was 23 and they were about 19, 20, we were all very self-confident. We were still looking for lots of adventure, and I think they believed in their training. They were very fit and they were very aggressive. So they trusted each other, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed about being in the paratroopers, was that you could trust the person next to you. It was like your brother.
It still affects me, you know. I don't dream about the situation we were in at that stage. It's just, you will dream somebody attacks you, or you dream something, maybe a lion attacks you. You just start fighting. And I think that's a lot to do with emotions that's not been cleared out or been looked at. That's my feeling about it.